This is lunchtime news here on TV1 for the Newsfirst team. I'm Raza Irfan. Before we take a look at your stories in detail, let's start off with your headlines for this afternoon.
Massive SJB protest against rising cost of living heading to Colombo. No end to gas, fuel and milk powder queues. March 12th movement speaks of leadership in crisis.
Starting off with your top story for this afternoon, Sri Lanka's main opposition, the Samagi Jana Balawega, is staging a protest in Colombo today, opposing the government's decision to increase prices and against the rising cost of living. A large number of people are making their way to Colombo from various parts of the island to take part in the protest. The protest is being held under the theme, Let's Save the Country from Destruction. Several movements including Samagi Sevaka Sangamaya, Samagi Vanita Balawega, civil society organizations and university lecturers are expected to participate. Samagi Jana Balawega Anuradhapura district parliamentarian Rohana Bandara and his supporters headed to Colombo this morning.
As a responsible opposition, we gave them enough time for them to develop the country and to implement the vistas of prosperity and splendor. However, they continuously burden the people every day. We are coming to Colombo to send them home.
Meanwhile, supporters of the Samagi Jana Balawega in Polonnaruwa headed to Colombo this morning. Supporters of SJB from Hatton were seen coming to Colombo to take part in the protest. SJB supporters from Mawatagama were seen coming to Colombo. The protest is scheduled to begin at 2 p.m.
More than 100,000 people from around the country are coming to Colombo. We are inviting the public to gather at the Vihara Mahadevi Park and the PD Sirisena grounds in Maligavatta. We informed the Prime Minister and the President to resign if you can't do the job. Those days we said Gotabaya has failed. Today the entire country is saying the same. The Samagi Jana Balawega has begun an effort to chase away the Rajapakshas from power. The people have begun gathering in Colombo to oppose this administration. They are the people who are suffering the most, who voted for them. If the Rajapakshas think that they can gain a never-ending reign through the 20th Amendment, they are mistaken. The Samagi Jana Balawega has created a background for all people to unite and rally against this government. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, get ready to go home. This is enough. He cannot lie to the people anymore. He cannot cheat the people anymore. The Samagi Jana Balawega, led by Sajith Premadasa, can lead the country properly. We would like to tell the government, get ready to resign.
Long queues were seen across many filling stations for diesel as well as petrol today. An uneasy situation was reported when a filling station in the Chilla town announced that they had run out of fuel. Three-wheeler drivers strongly objected towards it, and thereafter Sri Lanka police had to intervene to control the situation. However, later on, measures were taken to deliver fuel from the filling station. Locals banded together to push start a bus that ran out of fuel in Chilao today. Long queues were seen at filling stations in Town Hall, Colombo. The people cheered in joy when a fuel bowser finally reached the filling station. However, the cheers of joy turned into groans when it was announced that the bowser was carrying petrol.
පාන්දර 4:00ට දරුවෝ අරගෙන පාක්කොල වාහන වතරගෙන මෙතන මේ දුක් විඳිනවා. අනේ මහත්තයෝ කරුණා කරලා මේ දරුවෝ වෙනුවෙන් හරි මේ කරුණා කරලා අපිට මේ සාහනය ලබා දෙන්න.
A long queue was seen at filling stations in Bambalapitiya this morning. Only one filling station was selling diesel in the Anuradhapura town. Long queues were also seen at two other filling stations. Most of the filling stations in Kandy had run out of fuel by this morning. Long queues were seen at the filling station close to the Peradeniya filling station.
Fishermen allege that due to the current fuel price hike, they have been severely affected. The fuel price hike in the country is a major problem for us. Due to this problem, the fishermen are facing serious difficulties. The price of everything else is increasing with the fuel price increase. With the price hike, the amount we earn from our catch is not sufficient. We can't get a suitable price. We can't live off the catch of a single-day fishing vessel. We are requesting the authorities to provide relief to the fishermen. If not, we will take matters to the streets in a grand fashion.
With the ongoing gas and fuel crisis, the Energy Ministry has requested the general public to refrain from stockpiling fuel. Secretary to the Ministry of Energy, KDR Olga, stated that there is sufficient stocks of petrol and diesel in the country. However, she points out that continuous supply of fuel has been hampered as people have been unnecessarily stockpiling fuel. Meanwhile, a tanker carrying 20,000 metric tons of fuel have arrived in the Colombo port. Another tanker carrying 37,500 metric tons of petrol have arrived at the port. Ministry of Energy stated that the Kolonava fuel storage complex has more than 20,000 metric tons of petrol. Secretary to the Ministry of Energy, KDR Olga, stated that the relevant departments have been instructed to find out whether the closure of certain filling stations, stating that there is no fuel, is an act of sabotage.
People were seen in queues to purchase gas in many parts of the island today as well. The milk powder queue is back.
While the general public continues to be burdened by the gas crisis, a shortage of milk powder can also be seen in the market. A long queue is seen near a local milk powder outlet in Mirihana, Nogegoda. A limited number of milk powder packets were sold to each customer along with yogurt. The outlet was subjected to much public discourse after an incident involving the police took place, after which a new mechanism was introduced to issue milk powder. However, no mechanism has been implemented so far.
ඡන්දෙ දෙන්නත් පොලිමේ ගියා බඩු ගන්නත් දැන් පොලිමේ යනවා ඒක තමයි වෙලා තියෙන්නේ අපිට.
දැන් මේ පොලිමේ ඉඳලා ඊළඟට රස්සාවට යන්න ඕන. ඊට පස්සේ රස්සාව ඉවරලා ගෑස් පොලිමට යන්න ඕන. රටේ අවසානයේ අපේ අවසානයේ ඔක්කොම අපිට හරි නායකයෙක් පත් කරගන්න බැරි වෙනවා මෙහෙම වෙනවා ඉතින්.
A protest took place in Haliala last night demanding solutions to the current economic crisis in the country. The protest was organized by the Samagi Janabalawegya.
The All Ceylon Small and Medium Rice Producers Association says rice production in the country has been affected. When the Trade Minister declares a controlled price of 100 rupees on rice, the Agriculture Minister purchases rice from farmers at 100 rupees. There is no proper mechanism. There is no scientific basis on the decisions made by ministers. The rice industry has been completely affected. There is no rice production. We were silent all these days. When the government was unable to protect its henchmen, they imposed a fine of 100,000 rupees on every kilo of rice sold above the ceiling rate. But they reversed the decision in less than 24 hours. The government arbitrarily sold rice at a higher cost in a way that it affects rice producers, consumers and farmers.
I came to a place where there are people to speak about their problems. These people have been in queues since 2:30 this morning. We say there are gas tankers at sea. These people don't have meals. This is the situation at the moment. When the country is being ruled, there is a future plan for 5 years in case of a war or if there is no fuel. Doesn't the government have a future plan? Is this government formulating a future plan only now after people have been affected?
මේ තරම් ජනතාව අසීරුතාවයට පත් වෙනකන් ඉඳලා දැන්ත ෆියුචර් ප්ලෑන් එක හදන්න.
කිසිම ආණ්ඩුවක් කැමති නැහැ අසංක තමුන්ගේ රජයේ තියෙන කාලෙදි ජනතාව පෝලිං වල දුක් විඳිනවා දකින්න.
Any government doesn't like to see its people standing in queues. However, I need to make a small clarification on how this crisis was created. All governments after 1977 that were formed by the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, United National Party and the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna had repaid all the loans properly. But this problem aggravated by 2020. The main reason which which caused the foreign reserves to decline, make it difficult to repay our loans, was the COVID-19 pandemic. During 2020 and 2021 alone, we lost around $10 billion as the tourism sector had collapsed, and also because we didn't receive foreign remittances. We have to repay $42 billion in debt in the next 12 years. Our government, led by the president, decided to ban the importation of vehicles because we foresaw this crisis. As we were trying to rebuild our economy along with a boom in tourist arrivals and more export earnings, a war broke out in Ukraine.
ඇමතුමා 23 වෙනිදා ජනාධිපතිතුමාගේ ප්‍රධානත්වයෙන් සර්වපක්ෂික සමුළුවක් කෙඳවනවාද?
මම හිතන්නේ හොඳ ප්‍රවේශයක් ප්‍රමාද වූ ප්‍රවේශයක් ඒක. අතරම අපිට
I feel it is delayed but a good approach. It would have been vulnerable for us if we had adopted this united approach a little earlier. Let's not rush into decisions. Let's look at this positively. If we are able to adopt an approach with everyone's consensus, and if we can lift at least a small amount of people's burden, can we call this meeting a useless move? Therefore, let's look at this positively.
ඔයවැනි සාකච්ඡාක ප්‍රතිඵලයක් විදියට ඒක අනවශ්‍යයි කියලා කාටවත් කියන්න පුළුවන්ද? ඒ නිසා අපි සුබවාදී බලමු.
The Cabinet of Ministers has granted approval for the appointment of a 14-member advisory committee to assist the Economic Council that is led by the President.
එම ආර්ථික සභාවට සහාය වීම පිණිස උපදේශක කමිටුවක් පත් කරන්න.
The President presented a cabinet paper to appoint an advisory committee to assist the Economic Council. Approval has been granted for it. This advisory committee includes Dhammika Pereira, Krishan Balendran, Ashraf Omar, Professor Shiranta Heenkende, Dushni Veerakon, S. Venganathan, Dr. Hans Vijay Surya, Ranjit Page, Vish Govindasamy, Suresh Dimel, Prabhash Subasinghe, Duminda Halangamua, Sujeeva Mudalige, Professor H.D. Karunaratna.
ජාතික ආර්ථික සභාවට උපදේශක කමිටුව හැටියට සහාය වීම සඳහා පත් කිරීමට ජනාධිපතිතුමන් විසින් කරන ලද යෝජනාවටත් ඊයේ කැබිනට් මණ්ඩල අනුමැතිය ලබා දීලා තිබෙනවා.
Supporting rural education means building a nation's future. And together with the people of Sri Lanka, Gammadda is leading from the front. Development of preschools in Ramba Ava and Isin Basagama, both in rural Anuradhapura. A preschool developed in Attan Kadavala in the North Central Province. Clean drinking water for the children of the Maligattena School in Valimada, Bandarvela. A library for the youngsters at the Kumbuk Oya Rural School between rural Polonnaruwa and Matale. Clean water for school children in Hambegamua, Munragala. Classrooms for students at the primary school in Ralapanava, Anuradhapura. The complete development of the Sindati Mata School in Kalpitiya, Puttalam. These are a few examples of Gammadda's action and impact. Thanks to you, the people. Gammadda. By the people. For the people.
With the revision of bus fares, the minimum fare has been increased to 20 rupees. Transport Minister Dilum Amunagama said that steps have been taken to revise bus fares by 15% this time. The minister stated that tolls on expressway will also be increased. The Minister of Transport Dilum Amunagama said that the revision of fares was also discussed at the cabinet meeting yesterday. Meanwhile, the All Ceylon Private Owners Bus Association said that the increased bus fare was not enough.
They have increased the minimum bus fare from 3 rupees and they increased the litre of diesel by 75 rupees. IOC filling stations are increasing it by 93 rupees. Is this fair? The All Ceylon Bus Owners Association will gather in Colombo on Friday and make a decision. This decision will open the minister's closed eyes. We will operate buses under this current bus rate. We said give us diesel for 121 rupees. The cost of a tyre increased by 35,000 rupees. We would like to ask the minister, how are we to continue with the bus industry?
The March 12 movement says that the welfare of the people has been affected due to the failure across the political spectrum.
If the cost of goods is increasing amidst a shortage of dollars, and if the cost of goods is increasing as fuel costs increase, we don't need a management. Any of the political leaders haven't cut down the expenses despite all these problems. Can we at least say that they have reduced at least one backup vehicle, one security officer, parliamentary expenses, or whether they keep their ACs switched off in their offices and homes? We haven't seen that commitment among political leaders. The parliament doesn't know what it is doing. The president doesn't know what he is doing. The legal system has also been affected. Therefore, it is difficult to maintain a system of integrity in the country. That is the main problem in the country.
When it comes to decisions that have to be made based on their conscience, most state officials are motivated to fulfill political objectives rather than doing their job. This is a majority. If the leaders are moving towards a dictatorship, then the people share a portion of that responsibility. It is often said that the 225 MPs are not important. We can't prevent the powers held by those in power and their families, and those in the cabinet from being misused until the people speak against it. If there is no democracy within their parties, we need to address that. Until that, we won't be able to resolve this.
With new queues being created each day, where is the country heading economically? Several views regarding this were expressed in the political arena.
The government is facing economic challenges. Not just us, people in the US are also facing a gas crisis. The war between Ukraine and Russia has affected a quarter of the world's food production. It has affected 1/4 of the gas production. We are used to these issues.
gas නිෂ්පාදනය තෙල් නිෂ්පාදනය හතරෙන් එකට තදින් බලපාන. මේ මොන ප්‍රශ්න තිබ්බත් මේවා හොඳට අපට පුරුයි.
What are the people saying today? They are scolding the government. If all of us are suffering, the 6.9 million people are ready to send them back. Many are saying a lot was lost after Basil Rajapaksa was appointed as the finance minister. I advise Basil Rajapaksa to stay away from the public eye for 6 months. The people are saying that you are a hindrance. I'm explaining the public opinion. Many are trying to insult Basil Rajapaksa. We would like to say that we will protect Basil Rajapaksa and the government and move forward.
Basil
Rajapaksa sold all natural resources and assets of the country for his family's sake. We are seeing a policy of taking control over energy projects. Basil Rajapaksa has created the background to sell the country to whoever he can.
Basil Rajapaksa mahatya ita sukshama lesa nirmane kala tiyena.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has assessed the work of Ukraine's delegations during the talks with Russia as good, adding that these negotiations will continue until the 15th of March. He has also submitted a bill to extend martial law in Ukraine for another 30 days from the 26th of March. Martial law was introduced in Ukraine on the 24th of February when Russia started a special military operation.
China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi has called for talks between Europe and Russia so that the two sides may find reasonable solutions to their security concerns and set up a balanced, effective and sustainable European security framework. According to Chinese state media, Wang's appeal came during a phone call with his Spanish counterpart Jose Manuel Alvarez yesterday. Meanwhile, Ukraine's military said it repelled an attempt yesterday to take control of Mariupol by Russian forces who were forced to retreat. Satellite images from Maxar Technologies showed fires burning across the city, with many high-rise apartment buildings heavily damaged or destroyed. Drone footage taken of the Ukrainian city of Mariupol shows the extent of damage caused by Russian attacks. Deputy Mayor Serhiy Orlov said the city in southeastern Ukraine was under constant shelling, bombing and some street battles. Thousands of civilians have been trapped there for nearly 2 weeks, surrounded by Russian troops troops, firing rockets and shelling, which have destroyed many buildings. Meanwhile, the Russian and Ukrainian delegations have held 3 rounds of peace talks so far, with Kiev saying that the representatives of the teams meet via video conference every day. Despite Russia's invasion of Ukraine and worsening international relations, joint operation of the International Space Station continues normally. A senior NASA manager said yesterday plans remain in place to bring NASA astronaut Mark Hay back to Earth as planned aboard a Russian Soyuz spacecraft at the end of the month.
And that's a wrap of lunchtime news here on TV1. For more of these stories, you can log on to our website, which is www.newsfirst.lk. For the News First team, I'm Ruhaza Irfan. Thank you for watching.